What's up, band geeks? So today I'm going to be talking to you about playing in chamber ensembles and small ensembles. I got a request to do a video on playing in chamber music, and I've kind of pushed that off a little bit due to the current world situation. No one is really playing in chamber groups now, but I figured I would do the video so that when we are allowed to congregate in groups again, we can make our chamber music rehearsals effective. I am a clarinet player, and I play in multiple chamber groups, and I also coach multiple chamber groups. So this is coming from not only my experience as a chamber music player, but as a chamber music coach as well. I'm going to start off just by mentioning a few things about the clarinet specifically, and then I'm going to go into how to manage your chamber ensemble. In general, no matter what instrument you play, pay super close attention to dynamics. Dynamics can make or break a chamber music performance. No dynamics equals a boring performance. Lots of dynamics equals professional grade sounding performances. I remember as a student, we would listen to chamber music from the various levels of orchestra. Like the level 1 orchestra is like the younger people. Not so much dynamics. It was very square. When we were listening to the senior orchestra members play their chamber music pieces, there was lots of moving, the dynamics were like overflowing, and it was just such a huge difference that I made a mental note that dynamics are super important here. Dynamics are super important anywhere, but especially in chamber music. You might be finding that you're playing out at like higher levels of dynamic than you would be playing if you were playing in a wind ensemble. Usually if you're in a section, you don't play out as much and you blend with the people around you. In a chamber group, you're blending with other instruments around you, but you are also the solo clarinet part. So you might be wanting to play out more so that your part is being heard because there's fewer people. You're the only clarinet, so bring out your part. You just want to open up your ears. You don't want to be blasting a whole note and be like, yes, I'm playing out, listen to my whole note, when like the flute has the melody. You don't want to blast and cover up somebody's melody. So just keep that in mind, keep your ears open. Speaking mainly about classical music, which is the angle that I'm taking here, you are going to want to keep your tone generally the same, but since you are the solo clarinetist, it's okay to add a little bit of vibrato, maybe change up the brightness. You know, you can play with a super bright sound, a super dark sound. Once you find your unique sound, just lean into it, because then you can offer so many more colors and textures to the table, basically. You can bring all this expression and expressiveness in tone to the ensemble. So now let's go into management of the ensemble. Typically, it's the higher pitched instrument that is the leader. So in a woodwind quintet, it's the flute. In a reed quintet, it's the oboe. It's the person sitting on the outside, because if you're arranged in like a semicircle, it's going to be a person right here. They are at the front of the group. They're closest to the audience, but the focal point is closer to the person who is in charge, the leader. And this is the person who's in charge for most of the cues, most of the cutoffs. But just because there's a designated leader does not mean that that person makes all of the musical decisions. So you want to create an environment with your chamber group where you all feel free and comfortable to speak your mind. If someone is being very, overbearing, it's like, oh, I think we should do it this way and this is the only way that we should do it, that's not going to work. The more conversation that you have among the members and the more ideas that are brought up, the better the music is going to be overall. Before you have your first rehearsal, or maybe in between rehearsals, you want to really listen to the piece of music you're playing, really practice your part, and really know your part, so that when you get to the rehearsal, you can not only have a successful run through, but sort of know how the piece goes. You can have some ideas ready to go right off the bat, but you're not going to know really what needs to be said until you play the piece together. For instance, hey guys, we all have this subito piano here. I think we can bring that out more, just really bring down the dynamics. We can do a more dramatic ritardando at the end. We didn't really end together, so like, can we can we try to do the last couple bars together? Keep your ears open and make mental notes of things that you want to rehearse when the run through is over. You can also cut off, but sometimes it's better to just run the piece all the way through to the end of whatever movement you're on if things are going really well. If somebody in the group has a conflicting musical idea, play them, see how they sound, and then have the group decide on it. I've been in chamber music rehearsals before where I think that I have an amazing idea, but it doesn't actually work in the context of the piece, and somebody else's idea might actually be better. So keep an open conversation. One time I thought that we should do a really slow ritardando where it was written, and then when the tempo started, start in it slow and then speed back up. Someone else was like, well, I think we should wait until the closer to the end of the ritardando to really slow down and then start right away in the tempo, in the tempo, like just pick it right back up. And so we played it both ways. And it turns out that the music actually made more sense with the other person's conflicting idea to mine. Even though I thought my idea was so great, I agreed that it did sound better playing the other way. And there are no hard feelings. We're still friends to this day, and we still play together to this day. So conflicting ideas are great. It just makes the overall performance of the piece better to have different ideas and different ways to do things. Spend a lot of time in the first rehearsal tuning and warming up together. There are tons of ensemble warm-ups that you can download online, like essentially really simple band warm-ups, just to get used to everybody's tone. If this is your first time playing in this particular arrangement of instruments, it's a good way to get used to just like the sound of the ensemble. And it's good to get used to everybody's playing. Everybody has a different way of playing, so warming up together is gonna like just help you in the long run. You don't always have to have a comment or opinion. Like every time you stop, you don't always have to like jump in with something. You can just say, oh, let's just try that again, or let's move on to the next one. It's like, if it's good, it's good. Like you can leave it and come back to it at the end or something just to make sure, but like you don't have to talk all the time. Sometimes it's better just to play. Cultivate an environment where there's respect. Like just respect everybody's musical opinion, everybody's work ethic, just respect everybody's musicianship. They're all there to make music the same as you. Having a chamber music that's based on respect and like listening to each other is the best way to have a productive rehearsal. We want to make sure that we can see everybody in the chamber group. So arrange the chairs and stands so that you can see everybody. And it's also a good idea to write down in your part who is cueing what, because sometimes you can start getting to the end of something, it's like, oh crap, who's cutting off? I forgot who's cutting off. So just like do like a little arrow and be like, cut off horn, so that you know to look in the direction of the horn player out of the corner of your eye. You want to have that information before you get to the cutoff. The other thing is, if you are in charge of cueing or cutting off, make a big movement. One of the chamber groups that I am coaching, the kids have never played together, they're not used to moving, so like the oboe player's sitting there and she just kind of, and that's her cue. You want to make sure that you make eye contact with everybody. When you breathe, everybody should breathe together so that you come in together and make a big old movement. And same with cutting off, big old cutoff. It might feel really big to you, but it's important that everybody is clear as to what is happening. Don't be afraid to move your body. It even like comes right down to just the presentation's better if everybody looks like they're into it and everyone is like moving kind of expressively with the tempo. Obviously, it's really distracting if people are like all over the place moving like this. That takes away from the music. But if everyone is kind of moving together, it can also help as like a visual to help conduct the piece, because if you feel like the tempo is kind of slowing down, you can like give a little bob to like be like, hey guys, we're slowing down, come on, let's go. And then everyone can, without like stopping and saying it, you can just like conduct with your body, because chamber groups don't have conductors, so the conductors are ourselves. So that's a really important part, and it also helps to keep your ears open to be like, whoa, we're rushing like crazy through here, let's try that again, let's put on a metronome. Like things that you would usually practice at home, you're just practicing together as a group, because that's what rehearsal is for. There's a piece in my reed quintet where we just decided, all right, this this section, these 4 bars, there's a lot happening. It's crazy. It's supposed to be rubato. It's Bach. You guys know how I feel about the Bach because I did a whole other video on it. It's tough. It's hard. It's one of the hardest pieces I've ever had to play, actually. And there's this one section that is super free, and everyone's playing like these runs of like 11 and 12 and 13, and we all have to end together. So we are all moving together. We just decide, you know what, the only way this is going to work is if we all just conduct together. And that's the way we've done it, and it's been successful ever since. Another reason to keep your ears open is to listen to articulation and listen for articulation, because no matter what instrumentation you are playing in, different instruments have different ways of articulating. The horn, the oboe, the bassoon, the clarinet, the flute, we all have different ways that we're articulating, like right down to the mouth, like we just articulate things differently. And depending on who's in your ensemble, you might have different interpretations of what a staccato sounds like, and what a non-staccato sounds like, and what a legato tongue is. So you want to go through it, because like, I might think that I'm playing nice round staccatos, while the oboe is playing super short staccatos, while the horn isn't playing staccato at all. Not to throw shade at horn players. I realize how that sounded. You just want to like bring it up, just be like, hey, our staccatos were not the same length. Can we go back and try it again? And maybe like if you want shorter staccatos, have the oboe actually play a passage and be like, we should mimic that. If it's your first time doing a chamber music performance, you also want to like talk through the performance, like talk through how you're going to enter, how you're going to take your bows, when you're going to take your bows. If you want to do an encore, that's a fun thing to do sometimes. You want to talk about how you want to program your concert, how you want to dress for the concert. You should always match, but not too matchy-matchy. Well, you can be matchy-matchy. It's totally up to you. One time I did a concert where we all wore jeans and polo shirts because we were at band camp and that's all we had. But you want to like tune off stage unless there's a piano involved, in which case tune on stage. So if you play in a chamber ensemble, write in the comments below how you rehearse, what you like to rehearse, maybe some rep that you're working on, and let's get a discussion going. When the quarantine is over and we're back to playing in chamber groups again, which I cannot wait, hopefully these tips will help you have productive rehearsals, better performances, and just an overall awesome time with chamber music. I love playing chamber music. And with that being said, go practice.